Hello everybody.
Welcome back to English Podcast for Listening and Speaking.
It's great to have you with us again for another episode designed to help you boost your English vocabulary and speaking skills.
And today, we're diving into a super practical topic, especially if you find yourself in a workplace setting or if you're planning to work in an English-speaking environment.
That's right. Today's episode is all about asking for favors at work. Useful English phrases at the office.
We've all been there, right? You need a little help from a colleague, but you're not quite sure how to phrase your request politely and professionally. That's exactly what we're going to explore today.
And we promise, by the end of this episode, you'll have a whole new set of phrases and expressions that will make asking for help at work much easier and more natural. So make sure you stick around for the entire lesson.
Absolutely. Before we jump into specific phrases, let's make sure we're all on the same page about what a favor actually is.
Good point. In simple terms, a favor is a helpful action that someone does for you. It's usually something that goes a little beyond their regular duties or is just a kind gesture.
Exactly. Think of it this way. If you ask a friend to lend you $5 because you forgot your wallet, that's asking for a favor. It's a small act of kindness or help.
Or, if your car breaks down and you ask a friend to give you a ride home, that's also asking for a favor. They're doing something helpful for you out of goodwill.
Now, in the context of work, favors can be a little different. They're still helpful actions, but they often relate to tasks, information, or even just a moment of someone's time.
For instance, imagine you're new to an office, and you can't figure out how to use the coffee machine. Asking a colleague to show you how to use it could be considered asking for a small favor. It's not part of their job to be your personal coffee machine instructor, but they're helping you out.
Or perhaps you're working on a project with a tight deadline, and you need a quick piece of information from a colleague who's very busy. You're asking them for a moment of their time to help you, which is a favor.
It's important to understand that favors are about mutual assistance. In a healthy workplace, people often help each other out, building a supportive environment.
But the key is knowing how to ask politely and professionally, without sounding demanding or rude. That's where our useful English phrases come in.
We'll cover everything from how to politely interrupt someone who's busy, to the best ways to phrase your request, ensuring you always sound courteous and respectful.
So, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate learner, this episode will equip you with the language confidence you need to navigate these common workplace situations.
Get ready to learn some incredibly useful phrases that you can start using right away in your professional life.
Let's get started.
Now that we understand what a favor is, let's paint a picture of how these situations might actually look and feel in an office environment, especially for someone who's new.
We thought it would be helpful to imagine a common scenario, because often, the best way to learn is to see how language is used in real-life situations.
So, let's meet Rachel. Rachel just started a new job at a busy marketing agency. It's her first week, and as you can imagine, everything is new and a bit overwhelming.
She's trying to learn her way around, understand the company's systems, and meet all her new colleagues. It's a lot to take in.
On her first day, Rachel needs to find the main meeting room for an introductory session. She's looking at a map, but the office layout is a bit confusing. She sees a colleague walking by, who looks busy, perhaps on the way to another meeting.
Rachel hesitates. She doesn't want to bother them or seem like she can't figure things out on her own. But she really needs to find that room quickly. This is a classic situation where you need to ask for a small favor, directions.
Another scenario. It's her second day, and Rachel needs to send an urgent email to a client, but she can't figure out how to access the company's secure email system. She knows her manager, Sarah, is the expert on this.
However, Sarah is on the phone, deep in conversation with a client. Rachel can see Sarah's very focused. Rachel doesn't want to interrupt her, but she also can't send the email without Sarah's help. How does she politely get Sarah's attention without being rude?
Or later in the week, Rachel is working on her first big project. She's supposed to use a specific software program that she's never used before. She's tried to follow the online tutorial, but she's completely stuck on one particular step.
Her deskmate, Tom, seems very knowledgeable about the software, but he's also clearly busy, typing away furiously on his keyboard with headphones on. Rachel needs just a minute of his time to ask a quick question. Again, How does she approach him without feeling like she's a nuisance?
These are all very common situations. When you're new, you often need help with small things. Finding the printer, understanding a company procedure, or getting a quick piece of information.
And the challenge isn't just about what you need, but how you ask for it. You want to be polite, respectful of your colleagues' time, and professional.
You don't want to come across as demanding, or as someone who can't figure things out on their own. You want to show that you're considerate and appreciate their help.
These scenarios highlight the importance of not just knowing what to say, but also how to say it, and when to say it. It's about navigating social cues and professional etiquette.
It's a skill that builds confidence and helps you integrate smoothly into any team. When you know how to ask for help effectively, you're not afraid to seek clarification or assistance when you need it.
And that's exactly what we're going to help you with in the next sections. We'll break down the specific English phrases and expressions that Rachel, or anyone in a new office, could use in these very situations.
We'll cover how to politely interrupt someone, how to phrase your favor request, and generally how to sound courteous and professional in all your workplace interactions.
So, keep these scenarios in mind as we dive into the vocabulary and phrases. It will make it much easier to connect the language to real-life usage.
Okay, so we've set the scene with Rachel and her various moments of needing help at the office. Now, let's dive into some of the key vocabulary and phrases that are super useful in these kinds of workplace situations.
Exactly. Understanding these words will not only help you in asking for favors but also in generally navigating office communication with more confidence. Let's start with a phrase you often hear when someone new joins a team.
That phrase is on board. When we say someone is on board, it means they have joined a company, a team, or a project. It's a welcoming phrase.
Think about it like a ship. When you're on board a ship, you're part of the crew, part of the journey. In a company, it means you're officially part of the team.
For example, when Rachel started her new job, her manager might have said, "Welcome on board, Rachel. We're so glad to have you here."
Or, if a team is discussing a new project, they might say, "We're excited to get our new marketing specialist on board for this campaign."
You can also use it to refer to someone who has agreed to something. Like, is everyone on board with the new strategy? Meaning, does everyone agree and support it?
So, on board simply means to be part of something, especially a team or an initiative. It's a very common and friendly way to welcome new colleagues.
Next up, we have the phrase, about to. This is a really useful one for talking about immediate future actions. If you say you are about to do something, it means you are going to do it very, very soon, almost immediately. It's like saying, "I'm just moments away from doing this."
Haha.
Remember our scenario where Rachel's manager, Sarah, was on the phone? If Rachel wanted to describe what Sarah was doing, she might think, Sarah is about to finish her call.
Or, if you're leaving the office, you might tell a colleague, "I'm about to head home." This means you are literally just preparing to leave.
You could also say, "The meeting is about to start, so we should go in." It emphasizes that the action is imminent.
It's a great way to talk about something happening in the very near future without giving an exact time, just conveying that it's going to happen very, very soon.
Our third word is instead. This word is used when you are replacing one thing or person with another. It means, in place of, or, as an alternative.
Let's go back to our examples. If Rachel needed to ask for help with the software, and Tom wasn't available, she might wonder if she could ask someone else instead.
For instance, she might think, "Tom is busy. Maybe I should ask Sarah instead," meaning, Sarah would be the alternative person to ask for help.
Or, if you usually take the bus to work, but it's raining, you might say, "I'll take a taxi instead of the bus today." You're choosing an alternative.
It's very common when offering choices. Would you like coffee or tea? I'll have tea instead.
Instead, helps you express a change of plan or a preference for one option over another. It's a very clear way to communicate an alternative.
And finally, we have the word, interrupt. This one is crucial for understanding polite communication in the office.
To interrupt means to stop someone while they are doing something or saying something. It's often used when you need to get someone's attention who is already busy or talking.
Think about Rachel needing to talk to Sarah while Sarah was on the phone. If Rachel just started talking loudly, she would be interrupting Sarah's call.
This can sometimes be seen as rude if you don't do it politely, which is why we have phrases like, sorry to interrupt, which we will cover soon.
You can interrupt a person, like, please don't interrupt me when I'm speaking. Or you can interrupt an activity, such as, I had to interrupt my work to take an urgent call.
It's about breaking someone's flow or concentration. Knowing this word is key because it helps you understand why polite interruption phrases are so important in professional settings. You want to acknowledge that you are indeed pausing their activity, but you're doing so with respect.
So, to quickly recap those 4 key terms, on board means joining a team or being part of something. About to means doing something very soon. Instead means in place of something or someone else. And interrupt means to stop someone while they are busy or speaking.
Great. Understanding these building blocks will make the next parts of our lesson much clearer, especially when we start putting phrases together to ask for favors politely.
Alright, everyone, we've just broken down some essential vocabulary that you'll definitely encounter in an office setting. Now, let's take a moment to revisit the scenario we talked about earlier, the one with our new employee, Rachel.
We described how Rachel was just getting on board with her new company, trying to find her way around, and learning the ropes. Remember, she needed help with various things, like finding the printer or understanding a new software program.
This is a very common situation for anyone starting a new job, especially if English isn't your first language. You're new, you don't want to seem lost, and you definitely don't want to bother anyone, right?
Exactly. You might see a colleague busy, perhaps about to leave for a meeting, or deeply focused on their computer, and you hesitate. You need help, but you don't want to interrupt them.
Let's really slow down and think about that feeling. Imagine Rachel sees her colleague, Tom, typing very quickly at his desk. She needs help with the new software, but Tom looks really busy. Her first thought might be, oh, he's busy. I shouldn't bother him.
And then maybe she thinks, should I wait? When will he be free? Is there someone, instead, I could ask? This internal monologue is very natural.
So, the core of this situation is needing something, a favor, but also being mindful of the other person's time and work. You want to be polite, respectful, and clear when you ask.
Our goal here is to give you the exact phrases that bridge that gap. The phrases that allow you to respectfully get someone's attention, even if they're busy, and then politely ask for the help you need, whether it's a quick direction or some assistance with a task.
We want to make sure you feel confident approaching anyone in the office, from your manager to a new colleague, and asking for what you need without feeling like you're being a burden or impolite.
The phrases we're about to cover are designed to make you sound natural and professional in these common workplace interactions. They acknowledge that you might be interrupting, but they also clearly state your need in a polite way.
So, keep that image of Rachel in your mind, a new employee navigating a new environment, needing a little bit of help, and wanting to ask for it in the best possible way. This is exactly what our next sections will help you with.
Okay, so you've identified that you need a favor, and you're ready to ask. Now, how do you actually put that into words in a professional yet friendly way? Let's dive into some of the most essential phrases you can use when asking someone for a favor at work.
We want to give you phrases that are polite, clear, and natural sounding. The first one, and perhaps the most common and versatile, is, "Can I ask you a favor?"
This phrase is excellent because it's direct but also asks for permission before stating your request. You're signaling to the other person that you're about to make a request and giving them a brief moment to prepare.
Exactly. Think about our new employee, Rachel. If she needs to find the stationery closet, and she sees a colleague walking by, she could say, "Excuse me, can I ask you a favor? I'm looking for the stationery closet." It's straightforward and respectful.
Or, if it's a slightly more involved request, perhaps she's working on a document. She could approach a colleague and say, "Can I ask you a favor? I'm having trouble with this spreadsheet formula. Could you take a quick look?"
Notice how in both examples, we follow the, "Can I ask you a favor?" with the actual request. It sets it up nicely. Let's try practicing this. Listen and repeat after me. Can I ask you a favor?
Good. Let's do it one more time, clearly and confidently. Can I ask you a favor? Fantastic. Now, let's move to another very useful phrase, which is similar in meaning but slightly different in construction. Will you do me a favor?
Yes.
This one is also very polite and quite common. You're directly asking the person to perform an action for you, a favor. For example, Rachel might say, will you do me a favor and show me how to submit a travel expense report?
Or, perhaps a colleague needs help with a small task. They might say, will you do me a favor and just check if the projector is working before our meeting starts? It implies a small, manageable request.
It's an excellent way to phrase a request for a specific action. Let's get some practice in. Repeat after us. Will you do me a favor?
Again, nice and clear. Will you do me a favor?
Alright, now for a slightly more formal option, or one that might be used when you want to be extra deferential or perhaps the favor is a bit larger. May I get you to do me a favor?
This phrase suggests that you are trying to arrange for them to do something, rather than just directly asking. It has a slightly more polite, almost gentle tone. For instance, if Rachel needs substantial help with a new software system she's struggling with, she might say, may I get you to do me a favor and walk me through the initial setup of this new client management system?
It's a phrase you might use when approaching a senior colleague or someone you don't know very well, and you want to ensure maximum politeness. It signals that you value their time and assistance.
Let's practice this slightly longer phrase. Try saying, may I get you to do me a favor?
And once more, may I get you to do me a favor?
Excellent. Finally, if you want to emphasize that your request is small and won't take up much of their time, you can use, could you do me a quick favor?
The word, quick, here is key. It immediately signals that you're not asking for a huge commitment, making the person more likely to say yes, especially if they look busy. Rachel could use this if she just needs a very fast piece of information.
For instance, could you do me a quick favor and tell me which printer is the fastest for color prints? Or, could you do me a quick favor? I just need to borrow a pen for a minute.
It's perfect for those little, immediate needs that pop up in the office. Let's practice this one together. Say, could you do me a quick favor?
And again, could you do me a quick favor?
So, to recap, we have, can I ask you a favor? Will you do me a favor? May I get you to do me a favor? And, could you do me a quick favor?
These phrases are your core tools for politely asking for help in the workplace. They are professional, clear, and commonly understood. The more you practice them, the more natural they will feel when you need them in a real situation. Keep practicing these aloud.
That was a great breakdown of how to ask for a favor directly. But what happens if the person you need to ask a favor from is busy? Maybe they're on the phone, deep in concentration, or talking to someone else. You can't just blurt out your request, right?
Exactly. In the workplace, politeness is key, and that includes how you interrupt someone. You want to be respectful of their time and current task. This is where phrases for polite interruption come in handy.
Our first and most common phrase for this is, I'm sorry to bother you, but... This one is extremely versatile and works in almost any professional setting when you need to get someone's attention.
You use it when you perceive that you might be interrupting or distracting someone. It shows consideration. For example, if you see a colleague focused on their computer screen, you might gently approach them and say, I'm sorry to bother you, but do you have a quick moment?
Or perhaps you need to ask your manager a quick question, but they're in the middle of writing an email. You could say, I'm sorry to bother you, but I had a quick question about the meeting agenda. It softens the interruption.
It really does. It acknowledges that you understand they might be busy. Let's practice this one. Repeat after me. I'm sorry to bother you, but...
And again, try to sound genuinely polite. I'm sorry to bother you, but...
Great. Another similar phrase, which conveys a slightly stronger feeling of reluctance to disturb, is, I hate to bother you, but...
This phrase expresses that you really don't want to disturb them, but your need is important enough to warrant it. It's often used for slightly more pressing matters where you truly feel bad about interrupting.
For instance, if you see your team lead is about to head into a meeting, but you have an urgent question before they go, you might say, I hate to bother you, but I just needed to confirm the deadline for the report. It conveys urgency while still being polite.
Yes, or if you notice a colleague is really absorbed in a complex task, and you still need to ask them something, you could use this. I hate to bother you, but I have a quick question about the client presentation. It signals respect for their deep work.
Let's try practicing this phrase. Listen and repeat. I hate to bother you, but...
Again, with that slight tone of sincere reluctance. I hate to bother you, but...
Excellent. Now, a third phrase that's very similar to, I'm sorry to bother you, is, I don't mean to bother you, but...
This one also indicates that your intention isn't to be a nuisance. It's another polite way to open a request when you're interrupting someone. It's often used interchangeably with, I'm sorry to bother you.
For example, if you need to quickly ask a colleague for a file they sent earlier, you could approach their desk and say, I don't mean to bother you, but could you tell me where you saved that sales report?
Or if you just need to get someone's attention across the room, you might walk over and say, I don't mean to bother you, but could you spare a minute to look at this? It's a gentle way to initiate conversation.
Let's practice. I don't mean to bother you, but...
And one more time. I don't mean to bother you, but...
Finally, a very direct, yet still polite way to interrupt, especially if someone is speaking or in the middle of a thought, is simply, sorry to interrupt, but...
This phrase is perfect when you literally need to break into a conversation or a moment of someone speaking. It's concise and gets straight to the point while still apologizing for the interruption.
So, if you're in a meeting and you need to interject a point, you could say, sorry to interrupt, but I have a quick question regarding that point. Or if two colleagues are having a conversation and you need to ask one of them something, you might say, sorry to interrupt, but Chloe, could you help me with something quickly?
It's very practical and widely understood as a polite way to jump in. Let's practice this one. Sorry to interrupt, but...
And again, clearly. Sorry to interrupt, but...
These phrases, I'm sorry to bother you, but, I hate to bother you, but, I don't mean to bother you, but, and, sorry to interrupt, but, are your go-to tools for making a smooth, polite entrance when you need to speak to someone who appears busy.
Using them shows respect for others' time and helps you maintain a professional and courteous image in the workplace. Practice them, and you will find them incredibly useful in your daily office interactions.
Now that we've covered how to politely interrupt someone and how to ask for a favor, it's time to put it all together. In real-life office situations, you often need to do both at the same time.
That's right. You first acknowledge that you might be disturbing them, and then you follow up with your request. This makes your communication flow much more naturally and politely. It's like saying, pardon me for interrupting your work, but I have a small request.
Let's start with combining, sorry to bother you, but, with a favor request. A very common and effective combination is, sorry to bother you, but could you do me a favor?
This is excellent for general situations. Imagine your colleague is at their desk, working, and you need their help with something. You walk over and say, sorry to bother you, but could you do me a favor? I just need a quick hand with this printer.
It clearly indicates you understand they're busy, but you still need their assistance. The, could you, part makes the request very polite. Let's practice saying that together. Listen and repeat. Sorry to bother you, but could you do me a favor?
And again, try to connect the two parts smoothly. Sorry to bother you, but could you do me a favor?
Perfect. Now, let's try combining, I hate to bother you, but, with asking for a favor. This is useful when you feel a bit more hesitant to interrupt, maybe because they seem really focused. You could say, I hate to bother you, but can I ask you a favor?
This combination carries a bit more emphasis on your reluctance to disturb them. So, if your manager is clearly deep in thought, perhaps before a big presentation, and you absolutely need to ask something, you might say, I hate to bother you, but can I ask you a favor? I just need to quickly confirm the meeting time.
It shows that your need is important enough to overcome your desire not to bother them. Let's practice this one. Repeat after us. I hate to bother you, but can I ask you a favor?
Try to convey that slight reluctance in your voice. I hate to bother you, but can I ask you a favor?
Excellent. Another combination, using, I don't mean to bother you, but, can be paired with a slightly more direct favor request. Like, will you do me a favor? So, it becomes, I don't mean to bother you, but will you do me a favor?
This is another great option for general politeness. For example, if you see a team member walking by and you need a quick hand with something heavy, you could say, I don't mean to bother you, but will you do me a favor? Could you help me carry these boxes to the storage room?
It's clear, direct, and still very courteous. Let's practice saying this combined phrase. Listen and repeat after me. I don't mean to bother you, but will you do me a favor?
And one more time. I don't mean to bother you, but will you do me a favor?
Finally, for those moments when you literally need to interrupt someone who is speaking or in a conversation, you can use, sorry to interrupt, but, combined with a favor request. For example, sorry to interrupt, but could you do me a quick favor?
This is concise and gets straight to the point while still being polite. Imagine your colleagues are chatting by the water cooler, and you need one of them to quickly check something for you. You could say, sorry to interrupt, but Chloe, could you do me a quick favor and check the spreadsheet for me?
It's very effective for cutting in respectfully. Let's try practicing this combination. Repeat after us. Sorry to interrupt, but could you do me a quick favor?
And again, clearly and directly. Sorry to interrupt, but could you do me a quick favor?
By combining these interruption phrases with the favor requests, you create sentences that are both polite and clear. This is how native speakers often ask for help in a professional setting.
It shows respect for the other person's time and current activities, which is crucial for good communication and positive relationships in the workplace. Practice these combinations until they feel natural to you.
Now, let's shift gears a little and explore a second scenario. While it's crucial to know formal ways to ask for favors, a lot of workplace communication, especially with close colleagues, is more casual.
That's so true, Ethan. Once you've built a rapport with your teammates, your interactions become more relaxed. We want to show you how favors can be asked and granted in this more friendly, everyday office setting.
This bonus scenario will still involve polite interruptions and asking questions, but the language will feel a bit more natural and less formal than what we've been focusing on.
Exactly. Think about how you might talk to a friend. The core politeness is still there, but the phrasing changes. We'll explore situations that involve natural transitions, scheduling, and quick questions.
For example, instead of, I don't mean to bother you, but will you do me a favor, in a casual setting, you might hear something like, hey, quick question, are you free for a chat later? Or, mind helping me out with something real quick?
Let's imagine a scenario where one colleague, Mark, needs to quickly ask a favor of another colleague, Sarah, whom he works with closely. Sarah is working at her desk.
Mark might approach her and say, hey Sarah, got a sec? This is a very common, casual way to ask if someone is available to talk without fully interrupting them yet.
Sarah might respond, sure, what's up? Or, yeah, what do you need? This is a natural, friendly reply.
Then, Mark could say, just a quick question about that report. Are you free to look at it together sometime this afternoon? Notice how he's asking for a favor, her time and expertise, but in a very relaxed manner.
He's not saying, can you do me a favor? But the request for her time to look at the report together implies a favor. He's also offering a flexible time, sometime this afternoon, which is very polite and casual.
Sarah might then say, I'm about to jump on a call, but I'll be free after 3. Does that work? Here, she's using, about to, again, but in a friendly way, and then offering a clear alternative.
This shows how natural transitions work. She politely explains why she can't immediately help, and then provides a solution. This is much more fluid than a formal rejection.
Or, if Mark just had a very quick, simple favor, he might say, sorry to bother you for a second, but could you quickly check if the printer paper is loaded? It's still polite, but the, for a second, and, quickly, make it sound less formal.
And Sarah might just respond, no problem, I'll check right now. Or, oh, yeah, it's low. I'll load it instead. Notice the use of, instead, here, showing she's taking on the task herself.
This bonus dialogue practice emphasizes that English is flexible. Once you understand the core polite phrases, you can adapt them to different levels of formality, especially with people you interact with regularly.
It's all about context and relationship. With close colleagues, you can be more direct and concise, but still respectful. You're not bothering them in the same way you might a new acquaintance or a senior manager.
So, instead of, sorry to interrupt, but could you do me a quick favor, with a close colleague, it might be shortened to, hey, mind if I ask you a quick favor? Or even just, quick question, followed by the request.
The key is that you're comfortable enough to be more direct, but you're still being considerate of their time. This kind of casual interaction is a sign of a healthy, collaborative workplace.
We hope this bonus scenario gives you a feel for how these phrases can sound in a less formal, but equally professional, setting. It's all about developing your ear for natural English.
And remember, the more you listen and practice, the more intuitive these natural transitions and casual requests will become for you.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we, Chloe? It's been a deep dive into navigating the workplace with politeness and confidence.
Absolutely, Ethan. It's all about empowering our listeners to feel comfortable in those everyday office interactions. Let's do a quick recap of the key terms and phrases we've learned today to really solidify them. Sounds good. Let's start with our core vocabulary. First up, we had favor. This simply means a small helpful action someone does for you. Like, can you do me a favor and proofread this email?
Next,
on board. Remember, this means welcome to a company or a team. You often hear it in phrases like, welcome on board, Rachel, when a new employee starts.
Then we had, about to. This indicates that you're going to do something very soon. For example, I was about to leave, but then I got another call.
Instead, is another useful one. It means in the place of someone or something else. For instance, I couldn't go to the meeting, so my colleague went instead.
And finally, interrupt. This means to stop someone while they are doing or saying something. You really want to be polite when you do this, which brings us to our phrases.
That's right. Let's move on to the phrases for asking a favor. We gave you a few options to choose from, depending on the formality and directness you need.
We started with, can I ask you a favor? This is a very common and versatile way to begin your request. For example, can I ask you a favor? Could you help me with this spreadsheet?
Then we had, will you do me a favor? Which is quite similar. Like, will you do me a favor and show me how to use this new software?
A slightly more formal option is, can I get you to do me a favor? For example, can I get you to do me a favor and print these documents before the meeting?
And for a quick, specific request, we learned, could you do me a quick favor? You might say, could you do me a quick favor and grab me a coffee while you're out?
Excellent. Now, let's quickly recap those essential phrases for polite interruption. These are so important for maintaining good relationships in the office.
Our top recommendation for a polite interruption is, sorry to bother you, but. This is polite and widely understood. Sorry to bother you, but can I ask you a question about the report?
You can also use, I hate to bother you, but, which conveys a bit more reluctance. I hate to bother you, but do you have a moment to discuss the project timeline?
And a slightly softer variation is, I don't mean to bother you, but. For example, I don't mean to bother you, but I just had a quick question about the client presentation.
And of course, the direct, sorry to interrupt, but. For example, sorry to interrupt, but there's an urgent call for you on line 1.
The power really comes when you combine these. Remember our combined practice. Start with a polite interruption, then follow with your favor request.
Like, sorry to bother you, but could you do me a favor and explain this part of the proposal? This sounds so natural and professional.
Or, I don't mean to bother you, but will you do me a favor and help me set up this new monitor?
And don't forget the casual variations we explored in our bonus dialogue. With close colleagues, you can shorten it to things like, hey, quick question, or, mind helping me out with something real quick? The underlying politeness is still there, but the phrasing is more relaxed.
That flexibility is key, and it comes with practice. The more you immerse yourself in English, the more naturally these variations will come to you.
We hope this episode has given you a solid foundation for asking for favors at work, whether you're a new employee or just looking to refine your professional English.
Remember, learning a language isn't just about memorizing words, it's about confidence in using them in real-life situations. The more you use these phrases, the more comfortable and natural they'll feel.
That's so true, Chloe. Fluency isn't achieved overnight. It's about consistently living the language, one phrase at a time. Each new phrase you master builds on the last, opening up more possibilities for communication.
So, keep listening, Keep practicing, and don't be afraid to put these phrases into action in your workplace. Every polite request, every clear interruption, is a step forward in your English journey.
Thank you so much for joining us today on English Podcast for Listening and Speaking. We really appreciate you spending your time with us.
Yes, thank you for being such a dedicated learner. We can't wait to have you back for our next episode. Until then, keep practicing your English.